Spirit Hour.
Greetings and salutations, most delicious, delicious spirits, and welcome to this, the Edible Spirit Hour. This is your weekly dose of divine deliciousness, delicious divinity, divinity and deliciousness, the edible and the spiritual. We are primarily, my name's Michael. Flowing through my pussy right now is a collective of beings that are non-physical, primarily, known as the Edible Spirit Collective. And that's informed my work as a reader and healer for the last 13 years. And now it's informed this show, which is our weekly chance to get together, do some healing, talk about healing, talk to healers, ask questions like, why is healing yummy and delicious? Why is magic so sensual and even sexual? Why is God trans? Right? All wonderful questions that we like to ask on this show. But mainly, we like to feature healers and healing so that we can all do some fucking healing. We think it's like not always that sexy, right? When people talk about healing and people don't like to ask for help or get help. So we're not talking about help here. We're talking about healing, which we like to say healing happens anyway. Healing's part of evolution. But when we do conscious healing, we accelerate the vibe a little, accelerate that flow just a little bit more. Pero like also, you are part of this community. You are part of this collective. When you fuck with Edible Spirit, you fuck with Mikey. When you fuck with Mikey, you fuck with Edible Spirit. So we're all in this together. Okay, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. If you've been watching the show, you know we always start with the F Me Update, which is a combination of astrology and food. We're going to do that again tonight. We also have an incredible guest tonight who is an amazing musician, DJ, producer, and healer. BEARCAT is with us this evening. Can't wait to call them in and get into all of the yumminess. But for now, we're going to share the F Me Update with you. And the main thing to remember about the F Me Update, were you all here when Tiana was here last week? We just felt the flow, like our nervous system needed to reset. Welcome to the F Me Update. Main things we need to know about the F Me Update. Sun's in Pisces, and it will stay in Pisces until March 20th. In addition to the sun being in Pisces till March 20th, the main event coming down the pike is the new moon in Pisces on March 13th. Okay, so on Saturday, the upcoming Saturday. So new moon in Pisces is initiating a Pisces pattern, a moment of Piscean experience, which has to do with healing, dissolution. It's the last sign in the zodiac. So Pisces likes to, dissolve all the old patterns and crusty whatevers into the void so that we can be reborn again in Aries, right? When we hit the equinox, when the sun goes into Aries, which is on the 19th, 20th. I can't remember the exact time, didn't write it down because it's next week. Come back next Sunday and we'll talk about the equinox. Oh, yes. But in the meantime, the new moon is on the 13th, sun conjunct moon. We also have Venus in Pisces till March 21st. And then there's a Venus-Neptune conjunction at the same time as the new moon. So this is what we need to know. March 13th. It's a chance to set a new pattern in your life, new intentions about what wants to be healed, what wants to be merged with, what you want to kind of dissolve into, what you fucking want to let go after all of like a lot of Aquarius, a lot of mental energy, a lot of Mercury energy. So we like to think of it as kind of like the hot tub, like the ocean-sized hot tub of the zodiac, where it's like after you go through a whole journey, the whole fucking zodiac, you just kind of got to melt in Pisces to, there goes Tiana again, to integrate, to pause, to get present, and to integrate the lessons of all of this Aquarian stuff, which included our big ass Mercury retrograde a couple weeks ago. And what else? So Venus conjunct Neptune is really interesting. Venus in Pisces is magnificent because it is a very tangible, dense planet that's about beauty and harmony and glam and fabric and touching things and feeling things and manifesting things and boning things, right? Love and attraction and magnetism. So it's a very tangible, though, tangible planet in a very intangible, diffuse sign. Most of the experiences will come out of that, right? Where it's like, what is this planet of love doing in this place where there's no boundaries? You know, like what am I attracting in this space of no boundaries? I'm merging with everything. So am I attracting everything? Kind of. That's why like Venus and Pisces can be really amazing if you can, well, hold some intention of like what we've come through, you know, what you've been working on during our whole Mercury and Aquarius moment and just all of the lessons that we've learned through Mercury retrograde and all this Aquarius stuff. It's like, if you have some sense of what you want or what you want to create or who you want to become, Venus and Pisces can be this moment where your sort of most distant, diffuse, like hallucinatory hopes and dreams manifest right in front of you. And you're like, wow, do I want to be that bitch? But the challenging thing about Venus conjunct Neptune at the time of this new moon with all this Pisces energy and with Pisces in general, I don't know, can you guys tell that I'm like going into Pisces zone where it's like, what, can I trust any of this? Is any of this fucking real? And sometimes that influence that comes with both Neptune and Pisces is very important. Like we need a little bit of surreality or unreality or hallucination in order to just dissolve the denser and more confining material of all and heady, just like heady, so much to think about. I can't turn my fucking mind off. Haven't been able to, I mean, I've been sleeping, but just like very irregularly. It feels like there's so much to do and so much to embody. And it just feels like the wrong fucking time to do anything. And that is also exemplified by Mars in Gemini, which happened last week, right? Last week on the 3rd. Yeah, so a few days ago. Mars in Gemini is that planet that wants us to get things done. Mars wants to get things done, but then Gemini is like, which thing? Many things? All the things. What about this thing? That's a good idea. So in that case, it's like the diversification of Gemini as Mars is trying to do its thing. Keeps it interesting and keeps it spicy. Maybe not the most dependable. You never quite know what to expect, but there's still like a driving force. And it's good because, again, the Gemini influence sort of complicates things and makes things makes things multiply. So like many possibilities, as opposed to Pisces, which is like, all the possibilities. I'm feeling them. I'm in contact with them. I'm touching all of them. So main thing to know by way of all of this is that big shift happens when Mercury enters Pisces. It's not like things get any more tangible, but come the 15th, new moon on the 13th, set some intentions about what, not just what you want to let go of, because that's more full moon, what you want to dissolve into. Use that image of like resting into a hot tub. Like, what do you want to submerge yourself into? And what are you submerging into, right? Like, what wants to be healed? And it's not even what wants to be let go of. It's more so like what's reached its expiration date. It's not like, because sometimes you could like be clinging to a habit that's like, oh, I want to get rid of this, so I'm going to let it go in a full moon ceremony. But this is more about big fucking life cycles, habit, a tendency, a belief, something that you're attached to, right? That you know, because of all this Mercury and Aquarius bullshit, you know is not in alignment with who you are anymore. This is not you. Dissolve it. Willingly dissolve it. Recognize that it's at the end of its cycle. It needs to be made into fertilizer for the new things that you're going to grow come the spring. So I would say, Yes. New moon is the time to set intentions around that. And then March, and go on faith, even if you don't know who the fuck you are, like we were talking about last week. You're no longer who you were. You don't know who you are yet, but there's a temptation to sort of decide who you are. I would say, please don't decide who you are yet until March 15th. Sit with the discomfort of not knowing who you are. Sit with the discomfort of infinite possibility within you, not just because of fucking Pisces everywhere. Infinite possibility is always within you because you have everything you need always and always, right? And if you don't, if there's something that you want that you don't have due to your own desires, or I don't know, maybe some systemic oppression, doesn't mean in that case that like, oh, you have everything you need. Because I understand there might be some things that you need or that you feel you need that you don't have, or that you should fucking have that you don't have because of systemic whatever. I think in that respect, it's even more important to affirm that your resources are not just tangible. Your resources are within you. And this Pisces new moon would be a great chance to not even worry about who the fuck you are, but point out what in your life has expired itself. And in some ways, it's like set intentions during this new moon to trip face, right? As you move about your life, not knowing anything could be fucking anything, but you've cast your intentions so exquisitely to let what's ready to die, die, right? So many things have died that didn't have to die. So many people have died that didn't have to die. Wouldn't it be nice for some fucking old crusty models to just croak and dissolve and become humus and fertilizer? Speaking of humus. But P.S., we'll get to the food in a second. Mercury enters Pisces on the 15th. So whatever you're tripping out on just gets clearer. So there's like 2 days where you don't know who you are or you don't know what's going on. And it's like, point out what's ready to go. Watch it wash away over the course of the next 2 weeks or month, you know, between the 13th and the next new moon. And then give yourself a chance to integrate. You see, I keep doing it today, taking breaths, taking moments, taking pauses. Whose clock are you on, right? Are you on your own clock? Are you on someone else's clock, right? If you take a really conscious breath, you stop time and you enter into infinity. And that alone is always available because you, my love, not only are you delicious, you're a fucking miracle. And we're very grateful to have you here tonight. Okay. P.S. We're gonna bring BEARCAT in just a moment, like 2 minutes. I just want to show you one thing that I cooked for you. And then if you want a reading from Edible Spirit, queue up in the Zoom room. You can find the link to the Zoom room on our Instagram at Edible Spirit, or in the link tree, or at ediblespirit.com. If you just scroll down a little bit where we talk about the Edible Spirit Hour, there's a little link to your Zoom room right there. So get on it, get in it. If you want a reading, there will be a portion for that in just a moment. Going to share this little bastard with you super right quick. We went out on a limb today and we made, let's see, can you see this? Yeah, I think you can. And we made some fucking bagels. So this was the point where the bagels had already risen. We were actually portioning it into bagel-shaped dough-sized moments. Oh, I hope I rolled it for you here. Did I? Or did I just, was I a little bitch who put it down and didn't roll them into bagel shapes? Yeah, no, didn't roll them into bagel shapes. But don't worry, we're going to show you the reveal. We're going to show you the reveal. Let's share the reveal with you, for you, to you. Bastards. Okay, hang on. I'm going to show you the reveal. And then we're going to bring in Carrie in just a moment. BEARCAT's coming. BEARCAT's coming. Okay, let me just get rid of this little bastard for you. And yeah, we're going to show you this now. Okay, so here we go. Good. We're just at 8:15. Is this the one? This is the one. Okay, so you saw this. These are the little babies. We rolled them and then boiled them and then dipped them in seeds and then bake them using Benjinji's recipe. We will link to that on our Instagram. But meantime, oh boy, there's the bagels. Everything bagel, homemade everything mix with black sesame, white sesame, and fried garlic and fried shallots. What? That was it. Okay. We love you so much. So don't forget, if you want a reading, come join the Zoom room. Find us on Instagram at EdibleSpirit or at EdibleSpirit.com. Go to EdibleSpirit Hour, click on join the Zoom, and we'll take you in for a question when we get to that point. But for now, let's bring in the the infinitely deep, infinitely hard, infinitely open BEARCAT.
Hi.
Hello.
We did it.
We did it. Welcome to the Edible Spirit Hour.
Thank you for having me.
It's my sincere pleasure to have you here tonight because so many reasons. We just did the F Me Up show. That was super fun. But we always start with our guests with this little thing that we like to call, how are you healing? Okay.
Yes.
Where we just ask you a couple questions about like where you're at, what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to ask really, okay, well, I just want to tell people why you're on the show tonight because I love your music, love your sets, but
Thank you.
I especially appreciate you because of the way you curate moments, events, spaces, your sense of things being in right proportion. And, you know, this culminates kind of in Seltzer, in the party that you founded, co-founded, right? But I think sometimes the queer community finds a lot of healing on the dance floor, and we know that it's a sacred space, but I just wanted to bring you on tonight to talk about the healing that occurs in the spaces that you've created and sort of, you know, I want to know what got you into music, but also what got you to the point where you felt you needed to create space for people to move and connect and heal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think to just answer that like initially and just get right into it, I think my first experiences in those environments for me were so healing. And at the time, I wasn't comprehending that. I wasn't understanding at 16 because I feel like I started raving at that age, you know, like maybe even younger, to be honest. So I have this term that I use and it's not really a real term, but it's like my previous psychotherapist said this to me and she was like, you were self-therapizing from like the beginning. That's all you've ever done. And I feel like with everything that's happened in my life, without me doing that, I don't think I would be a stable person. And I don't think I would be this person here today having this conversation. So I think, from my teenage years being in a club environment, and it would almost be for me like, and it's the same thing, like, when I'm in that zone, I literally don't want anyone to talk to me. You know, I'm like, it's me and the music. And it's like a really personal thing. And it's just my healing. It's the release. And it wasn't until I grew into a performer myself and then a DJ that I understood what was going on, because then I was kind of not in charge, but like providing that sound and space for other people and being like, oh, this is what's going on. So you did. So you had, once you started playing, you did have a sense of we don't have to say that you're for the control of the room, but just there's something really fucking crazy about you're the only one who can make the sound go off. You're commanding, you know, and I feel like you can either do that or you can't. And I feel like it actually doesn't really matter what you're playing as a DJ. I feel like if you can command the audience, then you'll probably get booked.
But that's also something that commanding an audience is also about, being able to intuit where people are at, what they're
Yes, and that's
feeling.
the thing, you know, I feel like I've actually noticed, I personally have noticed a lot of DJs maybe not be as good as they could be because they're not reading the room,
Right.
you know. But also I feel like, you know, sometimes you just got to go off and fucking do you, but sometimes you have to read the room. There's like a balance there, you know, between
Well, I think
space, you know.
sure, and coming to it from this question of like, why is it healing? Why is it sacred? I mean, one of the things that I realize is, you know, when you do like a drum circle or a trance journey or with a shamanic drum, you know, it's very consistent, and they're not doing breaks and syncopated patterns and whatever.
Yeah, no, it's a trance. And I always say that my sets can go into trance, but it doesn't mean I'm playing trance music. And I feel like that's where a lot of the like techno bros lose me, and that's fine. They can be lost, but it's like, yeah, we're creating a trance here. And it's like, you know.
And I think that's something that, you know, can be different, especially because the way that, you know, it used to be too in the 90s and aughts and whatever, that if you wanted really hard music or really deep music or really fucking lush music, you had to go to a rave. You couldn't go to, you know, whatever, Exit or whatever. You couldn't go to just a club and like and necessarily get that.
Yeah, there's actually a club called Trade in London that has been going on for like, I think like a gay club called Trade. Yeah, like and I mean, that's the thing. And it's like, I came from a generation of people that were like going into fields and like pulling up a sound system and taking ecstasy. And those are kind of the people, you know, where I came from. I had a young mom, you know, so yeah, but no, that the dance floor has always been that for me. And then I realized that that's what I was doing, but also I'm healing myself. Like every DJ set that I'm doing is also my, you know, escapism. And yeah, how am I healing right now? It's been compromised obviously with COVID, because that release to me is very important, you know, as someone who isn't medicated or anything like that. You have to find your own vices and ways of doing it. And my ways personally are like, you know, exercise, physical exertion, because I have a lot of anxious energy. So exhausting myself and being out in the world. But even just my gigs, you know, just even on a weekend, I could be in 2 different cities. And, you know, it's like I go from not sleeping all weekend to then deep rest at home and then working from home and then I'm off again. So it's this very like 0 to 100, and I figured out a rhythm to stay healthy within that. But yeah, with COVID now and just being so stagnant and not working in the house and not having that release, it's been very challenging. It's been very challenging, because
it's one of those things that happens, especially when you're, especially at a rave, right, or at a rave, especially where the drum is keeping you guys going, keeping everybody going, keeping my body going, everybody's body going. And then something happens where you do merge with something bigger than yourself. You merge with the crowd, and then you come out different. That's literally a description of a ceremonial process where
and then I absolutely like need at least 2 days off to kind of, because I go from, I'm kind of like a recluse, and I like that. And that's part of why I kind of enjoy living in Philadelphia. And that's why it worked for me, because I would kind of hibernate here and I have my zone here and I have my little workspace here. And then I'll be in front of 2,000 people and like constantly socially interacting, you know. And I just found that living in a city in New York, especially in a place that I could afford, maybe with like roommates and stuff like that, the frequencies in my body were just never switching off, because it was always like around people. I feel like solitude is actually a really important part of my healing, and it's kind of hard for the people that love me and that are around me to kind of understand. And like even in relationships, it's weird when I just like want to disappear like like a while, but it's never personal. It's never it's me. It's me. It's
well,
not,
but
know.
This is also one of the reasons why, you know, we tell people when they're coming on the show, like, we don't need you to identify as a healer, but we intend to prove that you are. And and it's one of these things where we've just found in terms of training people to be readers or working as a reader yourself, that when you're giving in service, even if you're making a fucking raid off the gig, when your heart is offering something, not just to be like the most polished EDM bro playing a fucking club night in Vegas, whatever it is, you could be playing to a stadium of 50,000 people and be a fucking asshole who doesn't know why they're doing it, you know?
Right.
But when you are bringing your heart and you're putting your body behind it, and you know that this is what you're offering to your community and to your tribe, the theory is you're working for spirit. You're working on behalf of the light. And so you get infused with light. But something that we talk about with Edible Spirit is like, and yet you still need to make your fucking breakfast and live your fucking life and take your fucking dump and like do these things that you need to do. So we're obsessed with the idea of, when you give, if you're playing an all-night weekend and not, you know, doing rails a blow, you need to recuperate. You need to chill.
Absolutely.
Because if we lose you, then every person who's meant to find a catharsis through one of your sets doesn't get to. You know?
Yeah.
So I just always try to remind people that, you know, we can do inhuman things. We can do crazy things as long as we care for ourselves accordingly. And as long as we get the help and the healing that we need. So in that vein, is there anything that like you've found like that, not necessarily that gives you the feeling of dancing in a room full of bodies, or anything that you've done? I think you mentioned exercise, anything you've done or anything you would recommend to people to do to feel that sense of healing or connection that they feel from a dope club night? You played a seltzer gig during pandemic, didn't you?
I've only done like streaming things.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But didn't you do a seltzer stream?
Recently, actually.
Very recently.
Yeah, we did one recently. I don't know. I feel like, you know, to find that energy of the club is kind of like, you're not really going to find that unless we're in the club. But soon, I'm optimistic we're going to get there soon. So
I'm very optimistic. And like, there's this part of me that wonders, I know that there's been like streams and stuff, but I wonder if you know what? I've done like a Qigong class, you know, or like Zoom yoga. Maybe there's something to like getting to.
Yeah, and I feel like it's different for everyone. It's like at the moment I'm in a poetry class, and that's my way of like connecting with strangers and sharing emotions. You know, I feel like the dance floor is one place where you like, you know, but there's many different ways. So I feel like it depends what you're into, but I definitely encourage, like, you know, it's so easy to be shut off from the world right now. And so, and then depression sinks in, and then it might feel, then in your head, it might feel like more comfortable to be more recluse, but it's actually not. So I encourage like group activities, and with Zoom, you know, even though it's a bit problematic, whatever, let's not, you know, there's still a way for us to be connected.
But I love this because you're kind of distilling it down to this thing. What is the thing that we keep missing? It's connection. You know, have you ever heard of this idea that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, but connection, right? That,
but I like that.
It's something, right? I obviously, I'm not saying don't be fucking sober, just be connected. I'm saying it's like sobriety is still sobriety, but just
I mean, and also, I mean, you know, it's fine also to self-medicate if you are in a place where you are kind of balanced with it. I think that's fine as well. I think a lot of us have indulged in you know, things this quarantine, and I think that's fine too.
Of course, but I think I'm just going off of what you're saying about connection and this idea that like if you like, to me, if I smoke weed or when I smoke weed, it takes me out of my body a little bit more. And we were just talking about Pisces at the beginning of the show. Pisces is a very great example of like marijuana smoking blurs your edges a little bit, puts you out into the collective, makes you feel connected, but you're not necessarily connected
or in any kind of, but it gives that, I don't know if I want to say illusion, because I feel like self-medicating is exactly that, you know, like
100%.
but all in abundance, you know, and like, you know, there's a fine line with that, and I'm not trying to encourage.
No, but you know, we are a show who definitely does not judge personal choices and personal imbibements. Love weed more than I love wine, you know, but I love weed, so it's fine. But I just like this idea that I think it's really powerful to say this, that like, if you miss dancing, maybe it's a great time to take a class. You know, if you miss feeling bodies around you, you know, I mean, we do healing work over the fucking internet and over Zoom and over all these things. And
you know, I think there's a lot to be said with just like locking yourself in a room and like dancing in the mirror. Like literally, like there is so much to be said about that. That's something I've done from a kid, just been in the mirror.
Yep.
You know, just performing, and it's kind of like dancing with yourself, and that's the thing, you know. This quarantine the rug got fucking pulled from underneath all of us, business wise, personal, people have lost people, you know, it's been every kind of which way. So I just feel like to find that place within yourself, like, oh, I don't have access to my friends right now, but how can I like enjoy this moment, you know? And like, I just think there's so much to be said with even having a glass of water to having a glass of wine to having a spliff or a line, whatever's your vice, and just having fun by yourself. There's so much to be said about that, and I just feel like that's how you start loving yourself. And
100%.
that's so like it's also easy to just love yourself, so easy to say that, but actually it takes a lot of work to actually like love yourself. And I feel like dancing with yourself, looking in the mirror, like, you know, it's fun and it's cute and it's self-bonding.
It's self-bonding. And I think I've been experiencing this tremendously during quarantine, is that like my social habits, which are maybe fine, not problematic, they don't necessarily, as they were before quarantine, didn't necessarily leave me space, time, or energy to do that kind of bonding with myself. And then before you know it, you're sort of like running all over the place and keeping up with things. I was going back and forth between New York and LA, and I would always end up in LA being like, oh my God, I don't have enough time to see people. And like, oh my God. And like, my cells don't remember what that feels like now. And I'm not really very excited for that part of, you know, quarantine lifting to come back, but I'm also just trying to carry it with me and be like, what have I learned, you know?
And that's the thing. I don't think I would have joined a poetry class had I been in quarantine, you know?
Totally.
But I love it.
I'm so glad. Let me ask you this other question.
Yeah.
What is your, it's funny because I want to ask you, like, what's your spiritual lineage? What are the spirits you fuck with? What's your spiritual witchy background? But also I want to ask you what your musical influences are. And then I'm like, maybe they're the same.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like my first memories of music actually kind of crossed in between. So I was living with my grandparents when I was a kid and a baby, whatever. And I have Irish grandparents, and my granddad would play a lot of classical opera. Wow. And he was a bingo caller. And so his thing was he would like come home drunk and like blare opera, and I would wake up and then he would like clear the floor and I would like be doing ballet with opera. So I feel like there's like this and I think it was like a lot of Beethoven, like Porgy and Bess, like, you know, and he would get very emotional, cry. And then, you know, because I didn't meet my Jamaican family until I was 16, but I had been exposed to Jamaicans growing up in Brixton, you know, so I would be babysat by the neighbors and I would be exposed to, you know, raga and reggae and like that deep, you know, so musical influences that's when I was conscious of music those two times. And then growing up with the box, as an only child, I'd spend a lot of time by myself, like watching music videos. And I feel like Do you know Shakespeare's sisters Stay?
Mm-mm.
Like, oh, everyone should Google that. They're like, it's like this song, very dramatic, that had a huge impact on me. And then just watching Missy Elliott on the box, watching, you know, these like Mobb Deep, like rap too, like Nas, like was very, so yeah, my musical influence. And then I got kind of more into like rock stuff, but was kind of really rejected from the scene in England as like a Black kid. Like, it was just very white, and you were just treated like a fucking weirdo. Like, why are you here? You
Punk
know?
was pretty fucking white, you know, unfortunately.
But it's actually not. But yeah,
It's not, no, but like
we
the
don't talk about the colonization of music enough, actually. But just like techno,
totally.
yeah, very whitewashed.
It got whitewashed. That's what I mean to say. Whitewashed.
Exactly. Yeah. And so honestly, it wasn't until I kind of, because yeah, so I was like hell bent on being a makeup artist. I always wanted to be a musician, but I just never, it was never installed in me that I could do that. You know what I mean? It was like never. And so along the way, I met an artist who wanted me to be her makeup artist, and she found out that I sang, and then she heard that I sang, and then she asked me to join her band, and then that was just kind of it. We were just touring, and before I knew it, I was playing Glastonbury, and I was like playing Afro punk, and you know, designing outfits and doing all this stuff. And without that experience, I don't think I would have ever thought that I could have been a musician. And then yeah, that came to an end, and then I was like, fuck, again, self-therapizing. Performing for me was like the biggest release. It was like, because I, again, at that point still didn't understand the ways that I had been traumatized and abused, but had these outlets that made me feel so good. And so when that period came to an end and I wasn't performing every weekend, I was like, oh God, something's not right with me anymore. Like, I need this outlet. And I was like, what can I do that's just me? Because obviously everyone at that point around me wanted a band, but to put a band together is a lot of work, you know. It's like relying on a lot of people, and it costs money, and I just didn't have those resources or access or like support at the time. So DJing for me was something that I felt like I could do that was really independent. And so I just started learning how to do mixtapes, but only on the computer, because again, access, I didn't have money to just buy equipment and buy CDJs, but I could ask my friend to give me a crack code of a program of like mix my stuff so I could like do these mixes. And yeah, long story short, a friend of mine heard the mixes that I was doing and was like, you need to DJ my parties. And I was like, I've never DJed before and I have no idea what I would do, but like maybe if you I was like, maybe if you let me in the club like an hour before opening, I can try and figure it out. And so they were like, yeah. And like I came to the club and just like was looking at the fucking mixer and the CDJs and just was like, and I had CDs at this point as well, and like just played my first gig winging it, kind of, because I mean that's the story of my life too, kind of learning on the job. Like I've never really had the privilege of like learning or taking time. It's always been like thrown in the deep end. And so I played this gig, and then I was invited back to do a residency like every week. So I just kind of taught myself as I was like performing to this audience. And then yeah, it just kind of took off in a way that I actually never ever really expected.
But what I love about this are just two things, which is that your sounds are so all the fuck over the place, but so consistent. Like it all feels like you, but it can really go anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's
like
interesting.
Yeah, but
like a melting pot.
Yeah, but I am also a melting pot. I feel like I have so many, like System of a Down are one of my favorite bands, but then also Buju Banton. It's just like, you know,
you're hardcore,
but range of like everything.
But that's what's fun about it, is that I just wanted to make the point that the first two things you said when I asked the question are probably contain some seed of truth, which are the crazy influences of raga and dance hall and this and that, as well as the opera. Because when you think about it, like your mixtapes and sets sometimes sound like compositions more than they sound like a club set.
Wow, thank you. That means a lot.
very like, it just feels like this thick, thicker than the screen, And then you're like, oh my God, now I thought that I was about to like go down a K-hole, but now like my ass is clapping. Where did that come from?
Yeah. I do enjoy taking you on a journey, but yeah, that means a lot. Thank you. And it's funny because it's like the music that I DJ is actually really opposite to the music that I produce. Like I don't make club music. Like I can make kind of like a high BPM, like fast, but it's not like clubby. Even though you could maybe play it in the club, there's that contrast there, and I feel like I'm showing more of myself as a producer this year as well. So
well done. Well, we'll post links to everything that we have. And I want to ask one more question, which is about your intuition, because there's, just in terms of spiritual lineage, there's this question of the clairs. Have you heard of the clairs? Okay.
Maybe.
Clairvoyance, you've probably heard of, clear seeing, the sight. Clairaudience is clear hearing. Clairsentience is clear feeling. Okay, so I wanted to get at what you think your clairs are. Okay, so in a room, when you're reading the room, right, is it more like you get a sense of the room moving and then not moving as much, or is it more like you feel the emotions of the room?
I can feel it. It's more of a feeling. I feel everything. It's more, I don't know.
So then this was going to be my other question. When you, like, if you have a set and you jump the list and you mix something else in, do you mix it because you feel it from the room, or do you also hear it in your ear a little bit?
I think it's a bit of both, actually.
This is what I'm curious about. So clairsentience, I've kind of narrowed it down to clairsentience, empathy, and clairaudience. Clairaudience is very typical of musicians because it's the sound that rules channeling. So we were talking before the show about writing and the idea of automatic writing when you don't know who's dictating, but it's just sort of moving through your ear.
Yes.
That's usually connected to clairaudience, so clear hearing. Oh, hello, friend.
Morphe just came to say hi.
Hi, Morphe.
My little baby.
That stare, I saw a thing on Instagram today about how if you want to freak someone out, you do a Kubrick stare, which is that you lower your head and you look out your eyebrows.
This is the thing about her. She looks so evil, but she's actually like the sweetest.
No, she looks evil.
She's so evil, but she's like the sweetest. And it's actually the white devil that's like the annoying one. She's a white cat and she has black horns. I'm like, you're a white devil. Like,
she's a white devil.
I had to tell her off this morning. No, because it's like, if I don't get up, she starts knocking stuff off my bedside table. Like she is, and normally I'm just like, okay, but today I really wanted to sleep and I was just like, no.
To me, she's like, she feels to me like a significant other that is like, doesn't want, like actually really just wants your love, but like doesn't know how to ask for it. So she just tries to ruin your life.
She just wants the wet food. That's what she is. She controls me for like Frisky's wet food. So that's
hilarious. Yeah. So the one thing I want to say about your clairs is everyone is empathic. I think every human is empathic unless they're a psycho.
I would say like I'm very clairvoyant. Like I can always tell. Like I feel like I can tell when someone's talking about me, or like I'm just very like psychic in a way. But I now you're taking me deeper. Where it's
taking you deeper, my love.
Right,
because if you feel like someone's talking about you, that's not necessarily clairvoyant. Clairvoyant is clear seeing. Clairaudient is clear hearing. Clairsentient is clear feeling.
Yes.
Empathy, or I call it claircourance, is clear-heartedness, where you emote and you feel it. Claircognizance is a clear knowing, where it just sort of like hits you like a bolt of lightning.
Right.
And everybody has some combination of all of these different things, but I like to talk about
them.
Huh?
Can a person have all of them?
Yes, we all have all of them, because all they really are is they're the subtle senses. So they're interpreting psychic vibrations as though they were physical vibrations.
Right.
So you're not actually hearing it, but you're interpreting it as though you're hearing it. So what you just said about I feel like someone's talking about me is not an image. You see, it's a feeling and an awareness in your ear. So that was my gut check for you. I was like, everyone's kind of empathic. So I was kind of trying to see, are you more clairsentient or empathic? Empaths feel the emotional experience and are like, oh wow, this room is like deflated or is warming up or they're excited now.
And is that also related to like visceral reactions too?
So visceral reaction is different. That's clairsentience, which is the gut, which doesn't necessarily know the emotion. It just knows that something's different.
Yeah, I have a lot of visceral reaction.
I think that's it too. That's what I thought too. Okay, so the other way you tell the difference between a clairsentient and an empath is a clairsentient might not, or an empath will sort of like feel that a shady bitch has like entered the room that doesn't love them, but that's an empath. But a clairsentient will just know that something's off, but won't necessarily know what exactly it is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I would look into clairsentience and clairaudience.
Because I get tricked still, because I don't know, it's like, no matter how badly people do me, I still believe that people are,
But it's because clairsentience is one of the hardest gifts to cultivate because it feels like your normal feelings sometimes. It's like, it's not like a vision or like a voice. It's literally just like, so it requires oneself to develop more and more and more trust with yourself so that you notice a ping that's like, oh, that's my clairsentient hit. We'll talk more about it.
This conversation. Love it.
I love you. Okay, well, let's bring in a guest because we have a couple people waiting.
Cute.
Let's see what they have.
Also, I just wanted to recommend some things for protection, things that I have on my altar,
By all means. Oh, no, but save that for a second. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
I'll ask you about that at the very end. Let's bring our guests in. We're bringing in Mikey. What a good name, Mikey.
Hi, Mikey.
We're bringing in Mikey. Oh, Mikey.
Hello.
Hi, Mikey.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, cute hair, cute nails.
Super cute. Pink and purple. Welcome, Mikey. Welcome to the Edible Spirit Hour.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. I literally always see you on live and then I click it, sometimes at 8 p.m. and then now I'm literally here. Hello.
Is there anything that do you have a question? Do you want a reading or do you have a question or how
you know what, whatever you feel for me right now. I'm just so excited that I'm like talking to you. My sister brought me on to you like 2 years ago, maybe. And it was like before you had your website like redone and revamped and everything. And it's so weird because that was pre-college and now I'm like in college and like, wow. And you have the haircut now and you don't even know me, like that's the thing is you don't even know me, but like, I've been watching you for so long.
Oh, you're so
That's crazy.
No, I love it. But you know what? P.S. It happens all the time that I don't know someone, but now we get to read your fucking soul. So how about that?
Oh, I love that. That is so cute. Listen, I literally turned my light on. I was like in the dark just watching this.
So
oh my God.
Where are you, Mikey? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Chesapeake. When I'm not in Chesapeake, oh my God. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. We love it. We love a good Virginia vibe city. Are you in the United States? Are you?
I am, yes. Now I'm in upstate New York and BEARCAT, you're in Philly right now, yeah?
Yes, I'm in.
Oh, love.
Yes, and I have a good friend from Richmond, Virginia, Archangel. I'm not sure if you know of her, but she's
I'm not sure. This place is crazy.
Amazing. I feel like queer community needs to stay in touch. So look her up.
Yeah.
Archangel.
For sure. Yeah, I'm looking for a job right now and I'm looking at all the metropolitan areas.
But yeah.
Good.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute. Okay.
Okay, so what I get, let me just check in with the collective, Edible Spirit Collective. If Mikey was a snack, what snack would they be? Okay, it's very interesting. So I just got to give you what the collective gives you. It's a glorious, gorgeous pizza that's worn on your head like a fascinator.
Oh my God, I love this.
And so if you were a snack, you would be a pizza fascinator, real pizza, right? And there's something about this, which is like, this is what you want. This is what everybody wants to fucking eat, but not everybody eats it enough, or plenty of people do. I don't eat enough, but pizza, it's what you want. I'm seeing it with pepperonis, okay? And it's big, it's very big. And I think the message that we're getting here is I'm seeing you enter a room with the pizza on your head. And I think it's interesting because I think there's two things here where I know you're not afraid to be seen because you have your gorgeous claws and your amazing pink.
Thank you. Yes.
And I want to say what's interesting about this is that it's almost like, what's the intention when you make an entrance? Why are you making an entrance? And what are you doing with the gaze that falls upon you? Does that make sense?
Oh, that is the question I ponder on all day, all the time. Every time I make a decision, I look in the mirror and I have that introspectiveness of like, whoa, like people are looking at what I'm doing. Like the nails are a physical change that are not only for me as an individual, but from people looking at me, it's an intro to, it's judgment. It's just so much. It's introduction for just too much. And I don't know what the purpose is of it.
No, and yet, well, here, I think it's perfect because this is what's coming through in your reading. It's that you're walking into these spaces, and remember that the most important thing about wearing a look is to cultivate the energy as though you're not wearing a look. Like, what look? What wig? Yeah. What are you talking about? I am so fucking normal and boring right now with my pizza fascinator on my head.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's this other element here, which is I feel that the authority with which you enter into this space is very important, because I feel like you're a person in this life who wants to make moves and who has plans. And I don't necessarily think that it has to be about money, but I think that like, it's important to remember, I don't want to project anything onto you, but you are white enough that you can flex some privilege, okay, in this life. And so there's this little element about this, which is, don't make it all about money, but begin to cultivate the energy of walking into a room, no matter what look you're serving when you walk in, make it as big as a fucking pizza with pepperoni, and walk in as though you are the most essential worker.
No, I'm resonating with a lot of that, especially with the privilege part, because I think about that so much from like a white male perspective. Of course, I've got the LGBT aspect, which is so weird in terms of like equality, but it's almost as if I have that platform to be able to be heard. You know what I mean? To express things that I'm feeling right now. And, you know, I want to have the nails and the hair. I'm a good platform. I'm a good Manila. You know what I mean? For people to be able to witness, you know, I feel like people are more in tune to see my nails and think of it as a good baseline. But if it's where's somebody else, I don't know. You know?
And I think this is what's really interesting is like, just to say it flat out, like you're not a Black trans woman. So the likelihood of you being murdered is lower.
Whereas I'm like trying to be a Black trans woman.
There you go.
You know what I mean though? Like it's this energy that is so foreign to so many people and so many cultures. And to be in Richmond, I'm so lucky, in Philly, oh my gosh. Like, but I think there's a lot of, you know, being here has really opened my eyes to the idea that it's sad. There's a lot of places in this country that like we'll never have the opportunity to see the pizza or embrace the pizza. Like,
and so this is your role. And I think this is what at the core of this reading, you're not a Black trans woman. So that means that you can use the privilege that you do have and your ability to enter a space with a fucking pizza on your head looking fierce to advocate for those who cannot, for those who might not be able to. And there's two things that we're talking about here. That's the one conversation that's about privilege and about what are you going to do with it and why are you on this earth and why are you flexing. But then the other side of it is just very practical. It's about work and it's about finding work and it's about doing work. And it's like, I don't think you should alter your appearance unless you absolutely fucking have to like do something. But at the same time, know that how you enter a room and the chillness with which you present yourself is key here, because it means you're going to be able to move about spaces that not everybody else can move about. So the question then becomes, how can you speak up for and advocate for those bodies and people moving through the spaces that maybe you can move through more easily. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I have an interview tomorrow. I've had 4 interviews last week. I'm in that right now where I'm so nervous to raise my hands in an interview. And yes.
No, so that's the thing I think you need to work through, which is, this is me. I'm here. Let's fucking do this, because that's where you want to be fucking working. BEARCAT, anything to share or add or offer in this conversation?
Yes, I definitely think recognizing your privilege is at the forefront of this conversation. And, you know, Angel, who I mentioned before, is a Black trans woman. And, you know, her experiences in Richmond, Virginia are probably completely different to yours. And we discuss her safety like regularly. So I think that, you know, using yourself and your white privilege as a voice is important to advocate for everyone else. And yeah, but I also think that you're kind of there. I mean, I love your energy, you know, your nails, the hair, but it's kind of means more than that. That's what we're using that as like a point, but it means so much more, especially like where you are in the world. So it's kind of amazing that you are at the forefront of who you are as a person. And how old are you?
21 right
now.
now.
You're a baby.
Love you.
So it's kind of just like, yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's exciting that you're that young.
But I love what BEARCAT just said to you too, which is like, you're there. What if you're there? One of the things that we must remember from the spiritual path as well, or that I encourage you to remember, is that awe is a great detractor. It's a great limiter, going wow for too long. And I feel like BEARCAT's saying, you're there. You're going like, wow, I'm fucking doing this. So now you're there. So now you got to make sure that as you are flexing your privilege and moving about spaces, feeling your fucking oats, and you should feel your oats and look great doing it, make sure that you are checking your privilege and advocating for those who cannot necessarily do that, because
especially in a place like Virginia, where
Virginia,
visibility is so much lower. But I mean, you know, Black trans women are being murdered all over the world. So I mean, but especially, you know, it's just like, it's like Virginia is a scary place. I mean,
for sure. It's and especially when I'm thinking about where I want to move, it's such a like north and southern thing. I'm realizing I don't want to go south anywhere I go, because I'm so nervous about the stigma that comes with it.
What are you into? Like, what's your job? Or like
creative advertising. So anything to do with like displays or, you know, marketing.
Yeah.
I just really think I think you're going to find a path in front of you that is about using your privilege to uplift and amplify voices that are not your own. So fucking start now.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for this opportunity too. I'm really glad I got to talk with you guys.
It's a real
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And I hope other people get the chance to be able to meet you guys too, because it was just so cute. Thank you.
Thanks, darling.
All right, bye.
Yay!
So cute.
Sweet.
A baby.
Such a baby.
Baby.
Oh, that was fun. Okay, let's see. We have one more person. Let's bring her. Just a moment. Cute.
If I disappear, I just have to pee, but I can hear everything.
No problem. Okay, no, that's fine. Don't hold it.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
Skylar. I'm Get Face.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, DJ Get Face, as in
cute.
yeah. So I know a lot of the names you're talking about. I'm in DC currently, but I do DJ nightlife, and I have known about you for a second, and I'm really happy to see you here. And yeah,
good. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. And
welcome, darling.
Yeah, thank you, EdibleSpirit, as well. And I'm basically just coming on because I really resonate with a lot of the nightlife and spirituality spectrum, and how it is, I don't know, it just seems to continue to unravel for me, and especially using audio for healing and for continuing on this narrative about like these people that have come before us, and like honoring that, and like using our privilege to kind of like honor those voices. And it just seems really, that's the message I've been getting recently, and I really want to I don't know, just can maybe get more of your thoughts on that a little bit.
I love it. Anything, Carrie? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been thinking about my ancestors. I feel like my ancestors are really the whole deal for me. I feel like I've always kind of spoken to them subconsciously, and I feel like I've had like so many wild experiences as a human.
That's Clairaudience too, speaking to the ancestors.
Right. But I also feel like there's just been a level of protection around me that is kind of wild. Like the things that I've been through, things that have happened to me, and like I said, the fact that I'm kind of like this somewhat stable person that's able to, you know, have a job and not be, you know, because I feel like as well, that's another part of growing up, realizing that a lot of my family on both sides are like very mentally ill as well. So I never really had like people to rely on. So I just have always kind of relied, I feel like, yeah, I've relied on myself, but my ancestors have always been my guides. And I think we're all gods in our own ways. So I've, you know, used myself as like a god, but them as my guides. But anyway, to get more interesting, you know, I'm a biracial woman. I'm a biracial Black woman. That's how I feel, because I feel more Black than ever, but I am biracial and I am light skinned, and I benefit from a system that, you know, benefits that. So we have to acknowledge that. But I come from like Irish people, right? So it's like very complex in this way where like they just cannot understand or relate to really the deep understanding of racism and white supremacy, because they as white people were really brutally suppressed. Mm-hmm. And what they failed to understand is that you know, no one, you know, they're white. So it's like how they maneuver now in the world is with white privilege. And so, but it's very hard for a lot of Irish people to acknowledge that. And, you know, I really cut ties with all my white family. That's another story. But yeah, so I've been thinking about my ancestors in a different way, thinking of the white side, and my white side was like still really like brutally oppressed in this way. Not to equate that to anything.
But one of the ways which I've experienced it working personally too, Skylar, is that I think it functions through the DNA, and that when you know the genetic material is passed on, but this is just a hunch. I think there's something spooky ooky in between the double helix that's more light and consciousness than it is, you know, ACTG. It's very convenient that there's 4 fucking letters to sequence all the DNA when there might just be a miracle between the strands, right? Or like a portal out of which your ancestors can emerge and be like, so, you sure about that? You know, and yet then there's also this other thing which I think is connected to the nodes and karma, that it's like we all come here to work on something, and if we don't finish it, we either have to come back and work on it, or that's in the individual case. But then there's this other element which is in the collective case, in our ancestry, in our family, or even I was talking to someone about it yesterday, about like a national DNA or national identity, that or even tribal identity, like Germans versus Jews, right? And like the Jews have Israel now, but like the Jews are also a nomadic people. So that's not really like a national identity until Israel. It's actually an identity of not having a place. Or I had a friend in LA too, who was Hmong, who was like part of the nomadic, you know, East Asian, Southeast Asian tribes, right? Traveling all over the fucking place. So the idea is that we exist in each of these layers of identity. So we are an individual, we are in a partnership, we are in a, building, we are in a neighborhood, in a town, in a community, but then we're also in our families. We're also part of a tribe. We're also part of a national identity. And so I think the way that it works is that when we share identity with someone, just as a family or as a tribe or as a lineage, when they don't finish something, those free radicals kind of end up kicking around in our own personal spheres. And those things can be toxic, right? But I also believe that toxic patterns are meant to be processed by us. So we can be like, oh my God, this great uncle of mine was so sensitive that he fucking drank all the time. I'm going to process this so that I don't drink, but so that I am the first one in my lineage to truly open to the sensitivity that's within all of us, right? So just examples of like, it can get really passed on. But then the other thing that I pulled a couple cards for you here, just in terms of, because you did ask a question too, right? Like, what the fuck is this? What is all this sound and healing and ancestral stuff talking about, right? And it's interesting. It's two cards on either side, the 5 of Cups and the 9 of Cups. The 5 of Cups is in the past, 9 of Cups is in the future. And then in the middle is the Tower. We love this, okay? This tells us that something around ancestry and sound did not go the way that you wanted it to. Maybe neither of those things have gone exactly the way that you wanted them to. And yet something is ready to blow the fuck open that makes it go super happy in the way that you want it to. Okay. So it's like, it's very emotional too. And we're about to go into Pisces season on the 20th. So what I would encourage you to do is to be a little more methodical about like journaling and writing stuff down, or maybe even writing down ideas, or like not a shot list, but like a set list version of that, or like just ideas that you would want to sequence together or something, just making notes during the next, week, 10 days. And then once we get to the 20th, you sort of let yourself merge into something. As we were saying in the beginning, make a little more of an altar to the ancestors that you're calling on, or the musical traditions that you're invoking and working with. And just always think of this Pisces moment as less boundaries. There's less boundaries during Pisces season. It's all so much more permeable. So if you make it a little more formal and tangible, this is true for anybody who's trying to do Pisces shit, you make it a little more formal and tangible, then before you know it, they're literally speaking through you and telling you which knobs to twist, but you don't necessarily get the benefit of knowing that it's them, or even really knowing what the fuck's going on. And that's for about a month, at least 2 weeks, if not a month, so, yeah, so I think there's just a tremendous amount of energy that's caught up in this that wants to blow all over the place. And I'm the most interested in what happened, what went wrong. You don't have to answer this. I'm just saying, I think there's something powerful there. What didn't turn out the way you wanted it to? What are you mourning versus and it sort of looks like the mourning of that, or the acceptance of what's been lost or what didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. The acceptance of it is what causes the explosion. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
good.
Definitely. It's funny because that has actually come up in the past with something or other sort of reading that I've had, is that acceptance of maybe something that has occurred and didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to. And I'm learning from it, and I can recognize it a little bit more right now. And I'm just excited to use, I don't know, maybe the methodology of audio for purposes beyond entertainment, and then, and to encapsulate the rest of the conversation to just lift others up, and to really just, to have the conversation about privilege, put it all out like on the open, like really secrets, no hiding.
Well, we've talked to people about this, starting with Edgar Fabian Frias and a bunch of other people. And Madre Jaguar talked about it too, about the idea that like appropriation fucking happens, but it's about how you do it. Are you coming correct? Are you citing your sources? Are you saying this music that has nothing to do with me is my primary influence? This is where it fucking came from. So I think it's possible. That makes sense, BEARCAT?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Fierce.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you, Skylar, for joining us. It's always nice to see you.
Skylar, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye,
All right,
babe.
Angel.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Okay, bye. I'm going to give you a wham bam thank you ma'am reading. Just a little edible spirit snack. Are you down?
Yes, of course.
Gather you all. No, sit with it, and then we'll get your we'll do yumminess as our last moment. So let's just see. If BEARCAT were a snack, what snack would they be?
Oh my God. Wow.
You're gonna die. Lady fingers. Lady fingers.
Wow. I was gonna say a shrimp taco, but I'll take lady fingers.
No, but this is what I'm saying. I'm seeing like lady fingers that look like eclairs, but they're not eclairs. They're lady fingers with just exquisite toppings on them.
Wow.
So I think what
Like
this
a
means,
dessert, kind of a dessert.
it's a dessert, but again, I'm talking like a Wendy Williams moment. Like,
sorry, my cat just. Sorry, she does that. She's like.
she agrees.
Sorry, she's like lady fingers.
It's like her little lady fingers. It's a Wendy Williams moment where like your hands come down. How you doing?
Wow.
But they're lady fingers, and they're dressed like shoe buns or like eclairs. So they have beautiful icings on them. It's just very eleganza.
I love eclair, honestly. Like I miss that from England the most because you can just get that really on any corner in England.
That's what's so funny is that they look like eclairs, but they're being very clear that it's ladyfingers. So I think this is a read about how, well, we've been talking so much lately on the show and with people about how weird it is that we know we can't be who we were, but we don't quite know who to be yet. And it's also like not totally appropriate to just fuck around and like take something on that doesn't necessarily serve us. It's better to in this moment to sort of sit with it being open and try some things on for size. So what this seems to be saying is while you're not wearing any masks, while you're moving forward in this moment and being open and real and vulnerable, never forget that you are a supremely elegant panty dropper. Okay. It's literally like, so I think
I'm gonna piss myself. No,
it means whatever happened in your past, whatever it like any little just because you said raga, it's like I'm literally saying any ragamuffin self that you imagine from your past.
Right.
Eleganza, honey.
Yeah.
She's arrived. She's very elegant, and your spirits want you to remember this as you move forward. And specifically, I think, are you in a relationship now?
No.
I think specifically as you move forward and you are getting into a relationship, I think it's really important for you to remember that you are not only a catch, but that you are like, you're like an arrival. You're like an upgrade, you know, like.
But that's the thing. I'm kind of tired of being someone's gateway, like kind of experience.
No. You're not a gateway experience. I'm not saying that you're their arrival. I'm saying that when someone is with you, they level up, not socioeconomically necessarily.
Period. Yeah.
Period. Spiritually. Period. And that's the eleganza that I'm talking about. It's literally like you level people up. And so I think it's important for you to just remember that you're very elegant, very fucking rich, very dipped in cremes and pistachios. Exactly. You are a pouf de pâtisserie to be treasured and savored and enjoyed. I love this.
Oh my God. I love that. Thank you, babe. Oh my God. I'm going to be good all week after this.
You're so welcome. Okay. So we're about to finish up. I want to talk about yumminess, some things on this earth plane that make you feel divine. I think it's appropriate to see the your altar pieces that you were saying we're going to share.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention like some pieces that I think everyone, whether you have an altar or not, you know, I just feel like it's important to place things in your living environment that are for protection. And, you know, for the good of you. So, Hi, John the Conqueror. That's a piece I feel like everyone should have in their house. I feel like keeping it by the front door is a good idea.
And do you have it planted or do you have it in a sachet?
It's just in a piece on the thing. Yeah, it's not planted because actually I don't know what it is about me. I just actually anti green fingers, and I've tried to get plants and stuff like that, and I've tried to be I would love to have an apartment for the plants, but
I think your kitchen witch gets put into your cooking, not necessarily your plant.
Yeah, and also sometimes I think there's like so much energy around me that like sometimes things just get destroyed, and
Totally.
and
the white devil cat.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone, is on the sage, but I feel like you could step it up with some red dragon sage. I feel like that is specifically fiercely about protecting. And like it even smells stronger, and you know what, like sage actually makes me feel sick, and I was like, that's the demons in me like coming out. But I burn it, it's important. But red dragon sage is really, really cool.
No, but I just Googled it. I had never seen it before. It's dipped in dragon's blood, which is a resin. So it makes perfect sense. So it probably was some fucking demons that didn't like the sage, and you needed something stronger.
You needed it stronger, exactly. And someone like me needs the strong shit,
Well, I love it. Usually when I need strong stuff, I go for frankincense and myrrh or for copal. But
yes,
my witchy,
I mean, frankincense oil in an oil blend for your body is really good too.
It's good. You can put it on your skin, I think, right?
I do it for scars. Yeah,
for scars.
I have it for scars, but I know that it's like good for other things as well. I love an apricot oil and an avocado oil, and then I'll just put lime oil is really good for scarring as well. But you really have to moderate it, because the darker skin you are, the more careful you have to be with it. But if you're like white to like my color,
right,
it really bleaches out and blurs out scarring in this way.
Wow.
It's very natural.
Cool.
So but frankincense is one of the things that I put on my body too. And then lastly, Rose of Jericho, which is very good for like higher self, dreams, manifesting, again, protection, all the basic protection stuff,
But Rose of Jericho, is that an oil or a crystal?
It's like, no, it's like something that grows. It grows.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's off a tree, but it's like a thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have those things on your altar, and they bring in these energetic frequencies of protection and deliciousness. Let me see if I have something on my altar that I can show you. Check this out. I'll show you something on my altar too. That this was gifted to me by a colleague of mine that they picked up in Peru, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's ceremonial and it will cut a bitch.
Protect you. No, exactly. Oh wait, should I grab something else from my altar? Let me quick.
Yes. Altar shares.
These are musical things, and I got these in Mexico when I went to Mexico to the what is it, the mountains. It's like
whoa
yeah. And then there's this as well. I forget how you do it, but
there it is. Wow. Oh, it looks so cool.
Yeah, from Mexico. So
well, I think it's important. I mean, we'll end on this too, just saying that, it's one of the powerful things about drums and about sound and about music is that they soften the edges in the same way that Pisces does, but Pisces does it just through the force of dissolution, whereas it's the repetition and variation of a literal pattern, right? That boom, 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 tick, tick, tick. Like anytime something changes, it has all, and the overtones and the subtones, like they do all sorts of crazy shit to your brain. But I always nerd out on sound and especially frequency, because it's literally the place where like opera meets math, that like an A has a specific number hertz, right? And when you play that can take you into another dimension.
Right. And even if you want to take it to the other end of the spectrum, when you think of like rappers that can freestyle, I'm like, what?
100%. I mean, I don't know that this is what happened, but the theory would be
like what? Yeah.
But the theory would be that the rhythm, the physical rhythm of a drum and a pattern would actually be the best thing to kind of get your brain into the space where it's able to flow, as opposed to like having to write it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very.
Well, my love,
this has been great. Thanks for having me.
thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are very, very grateful. And thank you to everybody who has been watching. Please follow BEARCAT on Instagram at BEARCAT. Check out links to various projects of theirs that we will post on our Instagram. Tell your friends, and we will see you next week on Sunday at 8 p.m. EST for another episode of the Edible Spirit Hour. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. We love you, and good night.
The Edible Spirit Hour.
So